gone out? Nods, yes or no?
Monsieur le Président.
Chair, I would ask Madame Vignola just to read it, just to be sure. I've got a lot of paper in front of me, and so I want to be sure I have the right motion or the right amendment.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone has it before she gets into it because it's a lengthy one. I will now turn the floor back to Mrs. Vignola.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that I'm going to be reading it in French. The reference pages for the book of procedure are not the same in the English version. I translated the English myself because I didn't have the procedural book in English, so I'm going to read the motion in French, and that is the one to which we will have to adhere. That the committee make a report to the House that, and I give context here, on November 2, that summonses were sent to government by the Government Operations Committee, OGGO, to the proprietors of GC Strategies, Christian Firth and Darren Anthony. The latter refused to appear before the committee. Second, that it has been revealed that GC Strategies received about $20 million in government contracts for ArriveCan, and that the dates for which
Une enquête de la GRC a
Sorry, we've
actuellement.
lost translation. If you can just.
Unfortunately, the interpreters are just receiving that motion.
Are we ready to go again?
J'ai une version en anglais papier, si ça peut les aider.
I'll get you to restart at 3 once they're ready. Okay, they're ready to go. Do you mind restarting at 3? The data on the open government?
3. The data on the Open Government website is said to be subject to errors, which casts further doubt on the amounts that GC Strategies, in particular, might have received in government contracts since 2015. 4. An RCMP investigation is currently taking place, notably implicating the owners of GC Strategies.
De comparaître.
Refusal to appear. A. According to Bosque, Marc, and Gagnon-André, the Procedure and Practice of the House of Commons, 3rd edition, 2017, page 317. If a witness declines an invitation, the committee may issue him a subpoena by adopting a motion to this effect. If the witness still refuses to appear, the committee may refer the matter to the House, or which may then order the witness to appear. If the witness disobeys the order, he or she could be found in contempt. I'm still referring to Bosque and Gagnon. Procedure and Practices of the House, 3rd edition, 2017. The basis of power to punish contempt, whether it is a contempt of court or chambers, is that courts and chambers must be able to protect themselves against acts which directly or indirectly hinder the exercise of their functions. Small I, Bosque, Marc, and Gagnon-André, Procedure and House Practices at page 119. The House must itself decide on its intervention, the intervention that it makes. Requests. In order to see the witnesses in committee to testify, those steps are requested. First step, the committee requests and recommends that an order of the House do issue requiring Christian Firth and Darren Anthony each to appear before the Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimates on dates and times to be determined by the chair of the committee, but within 21 days of the adoption of this order and with such accessibility accommodations that the witnesses may request and the chair agree to arrange. Second step, after those 21 days, if the chair of the committee informs the speaker and the sergeant at arms in writing that one or both have failed to appear and ordered, the sergeant at arms shall take Christian Firth, Darren Anthony, or both of them, as the case may be, into his custody for the purposes of enforcing their attendance before the committee at dates and times determined by the chair of the committee, which the speaker shall issue the warrant accordingly. B, the sergeant at arms shall discharge from his custody the witness taken into his, and so on. And C, the speaker shall inform the House at the earliest opportunity of developments in this regard. So I've tried to find middle ground here in this new amendment. I've tried to respect the witnesses. I have tried to respect the sensitive situation in which they find themselves. And we, of course, are trying to accommodate them, but also we must respect the procedure of the House. We don't want to be called. We don't want to be called harassers of witnesses. So that is behind my sub-amendment, and that is what I have based my sub-amendment on, keeping all of that in mind.
Well, I've got a speakers list, Mr. Kuzmierczak, Mr. Shawari, and Mr. Souza. Is this on the Mrs. Vignola's sub-amendment? Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Kuzmierczak. You can't amend a sub-amendment.
Okay, was just trying to find the unmute button there. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I wanted to say thank you to my colleague, Madame Vignola, for bringing forward or working with us to try to bring forward a path forward that tries to balance what are the two interests that we have at heart here. And again, I just want to reiterate the fact that everyone around the table here wants to see us get to the bottom of this issue. We absolutely want answers. We believe that there are parties to this investigation, in this case, ArriveCan, that have to answer some questions that we have, and the best way to do that is again to do that, come before the OGGO committee and to stand here and answer some of the questions. They are answerable, and there have been over the last number. I mean, we've been studying this issue now for 5 months, but in the last few weeks, we've had testimony from the AG, from the procurement ombudsman, from the CBSA executive director, and that have raised additional questions. No doubt about it, have raised additional questions. And so it makes sense that we want to bring the witnesses here, additional witnesses here, to answer some of the questions that that we have here. So on the one hand, we're all united in wanting to do that, and we all supported the request to have Mr. Firth and to have Mr. Anthony, I believe, from GC Strategies come here before the House. We supported that. At the same time, so we want to see that. We want to see that meeting to take place. It is important. It is critical that these two gentlemen appear in front of the OGGO committee and to face the questions that we no doubt have, to shed additional light as we try to get answers here and get to the bottom of things. At the same time, it's important to emphasize that we did, as was reported, I want to be careful about what I say here because this is a delicate situation. And so I want to be very careful about what we say here. And I want to be very careful about individual persons' health issues and the sensitive information that has been shared. I will speak about what was reported publicly. I feel comfortable speaking about that, and there was, of course, information already in a Globe and Mail article that talked about the mental health challenges of the folks that have been called to appear, and health issues, I guess I should say, and health issues. We take those concerns very seriously. And so we're in a situation where the competing sort of interests, the pull and tug, I guess, of the two interests that we have is, on the one hand, we want to see that the witnesses come here. On the other hand, we do respect someone who steps forward and shares their personal health concerns with us, and we have to take that into consideration. And we're trying to find the balance here. And I stated yesterday, and when I spoke, that is what we're trying to weigh here. And I believe that the sub-amendment that is brought forward, amended sub-amendment or the changed, edited sub-amendment, but by Madame Vigneault, I believe it does advance us towards a path. But I still don't think we're there yet. And I'll tell you why. The nuclear button option, as Madame Vigneault herself described, which is asking the sergeant at arms to take into custody the witnesses, is a drastic move. And I say that because we have, at least in my recent memory, we have not seen a committee utilize that option, as far as I know, in a very, very long time. I know there was an article recently in the Globe and Mail, or excuse me, no, I believe it was in the National Post, that talked about the last time that a speaker utilized this prerogative of summoning the sergeant at arms. And it says here, if I can read this, because I think this is important, former Speaker Peter Milliken used the power in 2007, 17 years ago, to force police authorities to hand over arms dealer Karl-Heinz Schreiber to the sergeant at arms. At the time, the House of Commons Ethics Committee was looking into the hundreds of thousands of dollars Schreiber had given the former Conservative Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. And so this is from, I believe it's from the National Post, if I'm not mistaken. So this is not a tool that we use frequently. It's not a tool that is used often. In fact, it's used rarely in exceptional circumstances. And so I think we have to sort of, I think we have to be cautious in terms of reaching for that tool. Do I think it's appropriate in this instance? At this point, I think that there are certain steps that we have not taken, that we're missing a few steps before we reach for that exceptional tool. I mean, folks, in essence, what we're asking to do is we're asking the sergeant at arms to, it says here, to take into custody, arrest someone who has shared with us, as has been reported, information about their that they cannot appear because of serious health issues, which I'm not going to go into.